Part 1. A stranger in the night. The dim glow of the bedside lamp cast long shadows across the room as I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart pounding against my ribcage. My husband, Mark, lay beside me, breathing deeply, his body still as though he had slipped into an unnaturally deep sleep. It had started with the little things. Over the past few days, Mark had become different. First, I chalked it up to stress. He worked long hours, and we hadn't had much time together as a family. But then the changes became undeniable. His voice slightly off, his laugh sounding wrong, his gaze colder and less familiar. Tonight, the shift was impossible to ignore. As I reached out to shake him awake, my hand hovered, frozen by fear. The man beside me looked like my husband, but something about him felt entirely alien. The warning, "Mom." Ellie's voice came from the doorway, low and trembling. I turned to see my 12-year-old daughter standing there in her pajamas, her wide eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. I blinked, sure I was imagining things, but the glow persisted. "Ellie, what's wrong?" I whispered, trying to keep my voice steady. She stepped closer, clutching a stuffed animal to her chest. "That's not Dad," she said softly, her voice tinged with a certainty that sent chills down my spine. I glanced back at Mark, or the man who looked like him, then back at Ellie. "What do you mean?" Ellie's glowing eyes seemed to intensify, her expression firm despite the fear I could see lurking beneath the surface. "We need to leave. Now." An impossible realization. I wanted to dismiss her words as a child's imagination, but the sense of wrongness in the room made my skin crawl. As I moved to wake Mark, Ellie's voice rose, panicked. "Don't touch him, Mom. Please." I froze. "Ellie, you're scaring me. What's going on?" Ellie hesitated, then whispered, "I can feel it. He's not who he says he is. It's something else." I stared at her, my mind reeling. Ellie had always been intuitive, often knowing things she couldn't possibly know. But this was something else entirely. "I can't explain it," she said, her glowing eyes locking onto mine. "But we have to go. He'll wake up soon and it won't be good." The escape, despite every instinct screaming at me to stay and figure things out. Something in Ellie's voice compelled me to act. Grabbing my phone and keys, I followed her down the hall, the creak of the floorboards echoing in the silent house. As we reached the front door, a sound from behind us made my blood run cold. A low, guttural growl that no human throat should have been able to produce. Ellie turned, her glowing eyes wide with terror. "Run, Mom." We bolted out the door, the night air biting against my skin. Ellie tugged at my hand, leading me toward the car parked in the driveway. "Get in," she urged, her voice steady despite the chaos. I fumbled with the keys, my hands shaking as I unlocked the doors. Just as I slid into the driver's seat, the porch light flickered, and I saw Mark, or whatever he had become, standing in the doorway. His eyes glowed an unnatural red, and his mouth twisted into a predatory grin. A terrifying chase. The engine roared to life, and I sped down the street, glancing in the rearview mirror to see the figure that had once been my husband sprinting after us at an inhuman speed. "What is happening?" I shouted, my knuckles white as I gripped the steering wheel. "I don't know," Ellie admitted, her voice trembling. "But he's not Dad anymore. I think something took him." The words sent a shiver down my spine. "Took him? What do you mean?" Ellie hesitated, then said, "It's like he's a shell, but something else is inside. I can feel it. It's not him." A moment of clarity. We drove for miles, the city lights giving way to the dark expanse of the countryside. My mind raced with questions, each more terrifying than the last. "Ellie, how do you know all of this?" I finally asked, my voice breaking. She looked down at her hands, which glowed faintly in the darkness. "I've been different lately," she admitted. "I didn't want to scare you, but I've been seeing things, feeling things. I can sense when something isn't right, and with Dad, I just knew." Her voice cracked, and tears welled in her eyes. "Mom, I don't think we can save him." Her words hit me like a punch to the gut. "Don't say that," I said firmly. We'll figure this out. We'll get him back. Ellie didn't respond, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. A shocking revelation as the first rays of dawn crept over the horizon. Ellie spoke again, her voice barely audible. Mom, there's something else I need to tell you. What is it? I asked, glancing at her. She hesitated, then said, when I looked at him, at whatever that thing was, I saw flashes of memories that weren't his. And in those memories, I saw you. Her words sent a chill down my spine. What are you saying? I don't think it's just him, Ellie said, her voice trembling. I think it's been watching us for a long time. Part 2. The truth unfolds. The car barreled down the empty highway, the first light of dawn casting eerie shadows over the landscape. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, my thoughts a cacophony of fear and disbelief. Ellie sat quietly beside me, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon, her face pale and drawn. Ellie, I said, breaking the silence, what did you mean when you said it's been watching us? What did you see? She hesitated, her hands gripping the stuffed animal she hadn't let go of since we left. It's hard to explain, she said finally. It's like, when I looked at him, I saw flashes of someone else's life, but it wasn't just his. It was ours, like it knew everything about us. Our home, our routines, even things I'd forgotten. Her voice wavered. Mom, it's not just inside him. It's after us, both of us. A call for help. The weight of Ellie's words pressed down on me like a physical force, but I knew I couldn't afford to panic. I needed answers, and there was only one person I trusted enough to help. My brother, Sam. Sam had spent years in military intelligence before retiring to a quiet life in the mountains. If anyone could help us make sense of what was happening, it was him. I reached for my phone, my fingers trembling as I dialed his number. The line rang twice before his gruff voice answered. Melissa? It's early. What's going on? Sam, I said, my voice breaking. It's Mark. Something's wrong with him. Something not human. There was a pause. Then his voice sharpened. Where are you? About an hour from the city, I said. Heading west on the old highway. Get here as fast as you can, he said. And Melissa, don't stop for anyone. The pursuit, the weight of Sam's words added to the growing sense of dread. I glanced in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the creature that looked like Mark sprinting toward us again. Mom, Ellie said softly, breaking into my thoughts. There's something else I haven't told you. I kept my eyes on the road. What is it? She hesitated, then said, it's not just that I can see things. I can feel them too. And whatever's inside Dad, it's not just after us. It's afraid of me. Afraid of you? I asked, glancing at her. Ellie nodded, her glowing eyes meeting mine. It's like it knows I can stop it. I don't know how, but I feel it. Like there's something inside me that can fight back. An ominous interruption as we neared the turnoff to the mountain road that led to Sam's cabin. The car sputtered and lurched. The dashboard lit up with warning signs, and the engine died, leaving us coasting to a stop on the side of the deserted highway. No, 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 I muttered, trying to restart the car. It refused to turn over. Ellie's breathing quickened. Mom, it's here. I looked up, my heart sinking. In the rearview mirror, I saw a figure emerging from the trees. It moved with an unnatural, jerking gait, its eyes glowing red in the dim light. We have to run, Ellie said, grabbing my arm. I didn't hesitate. We bolted from the car, Ellie's hand in mine as we sprinted toward the woods. Into the woods, the forest closed around us, the dense trees providing some cover, but the sense of being hunted was inescapable. I could hear the creature crashing through the undergrowth behind us, its growls reverberating in my chest. Ellie pulled me to a stop, her glowing eyes scanning the darkness. Mom, wait. We can't stop, I gasped, my chest heaving. But Ellie stood her ground, her small frame radiating an intensity one had never seen before. Trust me, she said. Before I could protest, she raised her hands, and the glow from her eyes intensified, spreading to her entire body. A wave of energy pulsed outward, the air crackling with an electric charge. The creature stopped in its tracks, a guttural scream tearing from its throat as it writhed in pain. A stunning revelation. What was that? I stammered, staring at Ellie in shock. She swayed slightly, the glow fading as she turned to me, her face pale. I don't know, she admitted. It just came out of me. I didn't mean to hurt it, but I couldn't let it get closer. Before I could respond, a voice rang out behind us. Melissa! Ellie! I turned to see Sam emerging from the trees, a rifle slung over his shoulder. Relief flooded through me as he approached, his eyes darting toward the creature, which lay motionless on the forest floor. What the hell is that? He asked, his voice low. I don't know, I said, but it was inside Mark. It's been chasing us. Sam knelt beside the creature, his expression grim. This isn't human, he muttered, and whatever it is, it's not dead. A temporary reprieve. Sam led us to his cabin, a fortified structure nestled deep in the woods. Inside, he locked the doors and began checking his weapons, his movements efficient and practiced. You're safe for now, he said, but we need to figure out what's going on before it wakes up, or something worse shows up. Ellie sat on the couch, her eyes glowing faintly as she watched Sam. Uncle Sam, she said quietly, do you believe me? He paused, then nodded. I do. And whatever's inside you, kid, it might be the only thing that can stop this. A glimpse of the truth as Sam began unpacking his old military equipment. He handed me a tablet loaded with files. I've seen something like this before, he said. Back when I was stationed overseas, there were reports of entities taking over people. It was always dismissed as superstition, but the descriptions match what you're dealing with. I scrolled through the files, my stomach churning as I read accounts of glowing eyes, unnatural strength, and entire villages disappearing overnight. This isn't new, Sam said, and it's not random. Whatever's inside Mark and chasing Ellie, it's part of something much bigger. Part 3. The shocking connection. The cabin was silent except for the hum of Sam's equipment. Ellie sat on the couch, her glowing eyes dimmed but alert, her body tense like a coiled spring. I stood by the window, staring out into the thick forest, my mind racing with questions. Sam worked at his desk, piecing together fragments of information from his files and notes. This isn't just an isolated incident, Sam said finally, breaking the silence. What happened to Mark is part of something much bigger, and it's connected to Ellie. Ellie shifted uncomfortably. Why me? She asked softly. Sam turned to her, his expression grim. Because you're not just a target, Ellie. You're the key to whatever they're planning. The hidden enemy. Sam laid out a map on the table, marking locations with red pins. Over the years, there have been reports like this. People changing, behaving erratically, and then disappearing. It's always dismissed as hysteria or mental illness. But I've tracked a pattern. It's spreading, and it's centered on specific people, people with abilities like yours. Ellie's hands trembled. There are more people like me? Sam nodded. Not many, but enough to get their attention. Whatever these entities are, they're hunting those like you. Mark wasn't just taken by chance. They used him to get to you. The room grew colder with the weight of his words. A terrifying truth. Sam pulled up a grainy video on his tablet, the timestamp showing it was taken years ago. The footage showed a village shrouded in mist, its inhabitants moving erratically, their eyes glowing faintly. They call it the assimilation, Sam explained. These entities invade the mind, taking over completely. The hosts look and sound like their former selves, but inside, they're gone. The video cut to a group of soldiers confronting the villagers. Without warning, the villagers turned on them, their movements unnaturally fast and coordinated. I felt sick as I watched. Is that what's happening to Mark? Sam's silence was answer enough. Ellie's abilities. Ellie sat quietly, her glowing eyes fixed on the screen. If they're after me, does that mean I can do what they can? Sam knelt in front of her, his voice gentle but firm. Not exactly. They take over people to use their bodies, but your abilities come from within. You can harness that power without losing yourself. Ellie frowned. But I don't know how. It just happens. Then we'll figure it out, Sam said. Because if you can use your abilities to fight them, you might be our only chance. The creature wakes. A sudden crash outside the cabin shattered the tense quiet. Sam grabbed his rifle and motioned for us to stay back. I pulled Ellie close, my heart pounding as heavy footsteps approached the door. Sam swung it open, his weapon aimed, revealing the creature that had chased us earlier. Its eyes glowed a furious red, its body twisted and unnatural. But now, standing in the doorway, its face twisted into something chillingly familiar. Mark's face. "Melissa," it rasped, its voice warped but recognizable. "Don't run. I need you." A heartbreaking encounter. Tears blurred my vision as I stepped forward, ignoring Sam's warning look. "Mark," I whispered. The creature's face flickered, Mark's expression momentarily replaced by something monstrous. "I'm still here," it said, a trace of desperation in its voice. "But I can't hold on much longer. You have to listen, there's no time." Sam's rifle stayed trained on it. "This could be a trick," he warned. The creature turned its glowing eyes to Ellie, its expression softening. "Ellie, you're stronger than you know. You can save them, all of them, but you have to fight." Ellie's voice trembled. "Save who? Fight what?" "Everything," it said, its voice breaking. "They're coming for you. If they get to you, they'll take everything." A desperate plea. The creature staggered, its body convulsing as if struggling against itself. "I don't have much time," it rasped. "They'll use me to find you. You have to end this." "What does that mean?" I demanded. The creature's eyes locked onto mine, filled with both pain and resolve. "You know what you have to do, Melissa. Please, don't let them win." Before I could respond, it lunged toward us. Sam fired, the shot echoing through the cabin as the creature collapsed, its body convulsing one final time before going still. The next step, the room was silent except for Ellie's quiet sobs. I knelt beside her, holding her tightly as Sam approached the creature's body. "It's not Mark anymore," Sam said softly. "Whatever was left of him is gone." Ellie looked up at him, her glowing eyes filled with determination. "But I can stop them," she said firmly. Sam nodded. "If you're willing to try, we'll make sure you're ready." A shocking discovery. As Sam examined the creature's remains, he found a strange device embedded in its chest. A small, pulsing sphere emitting a faint hum. "What is that?" I asked, my voice shaky. "It's how they're connected," Sam said, his expression dark. "This thing wasn't acting alone. Whatever's out there, it knows where we are now." Ellie stood, her glowing eyes brighter than ever. "Then we don't have much time." Part 4. Ellie's awakening. The cabin felt smaller as the weight of our situation bore down on us. The glowing sphere Sam had pulled from the creature's body now sat on the table, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. It seemed almost alive, its hum filling the room with a sinister energy. Ellie stood before it, her glowing eyes narrowing in concentration. Sam paced the room, his rifle slung over his shoulder, while I sat nearby, struggling to hold on to some sense of control. "What is that thing?" I asked, my voice shaking. "It's a conduit," Sam replied grimly. "A way for them to communicate and control their hosts. If this thing was in Mark, they're already watching us through it." Ellie reached out toward the sphere, but Sam grabbed her arm. "Don't touch it," he warned. Ellie looked up at him, her glowing eyes fierce. "I need to. I can feel it calling to me." A dangerous experiment. Despite Sam's protests, Ellie insisted on interacting with the sphere. Reluctantly, he set up a makeshift containment chamber using the metal storage box he kept for his gear, placing the sphere inside. Ellie knelt in front of it, her glowing eyes locked onto its pulsing light. "I think I can reach it," she said, her voice steady. "What does that mean?" I asked, my anxiety mounting. It's trying to talk to me," Ellie explained. "If I focus, I might be able to understand it or stop it. Or it could take over." Sam countered, his tone sharp. Ellie glanced at him, her expression resolute. We don't have a choice. The connection as Ellie extended her hand toward the sphere. The glow in her eyes intensified, casting an otherworldly light across the room. The hum from the sphere grew louder, resonating with a strange, hypnotic rhythm. Suddenly, Ellie's body stiffened, and her head tilted back as though caught in a powerful current. Ellie, I cried, rushing toward her, but Sam held me back. Wait, he said. Let her finish. Ellie's voice came out in a whisper, layered with a strange, echoing tone. They're everywhere, watching, waiting. They want me because I can stop them. Her eyes snapped open, glowing brighter than ever. They're coming now. The attack, the hum of the sphere reached a deafening pitch before abruptly cutting out. Ellie collapsed to the floor, gasping for breath as Sam and I rushed to her side. What did you see? Sam asked urgently. Ellie looked up, her face pale but determined. They're close. They know I can fight them and they're scared. But they won't stop until they have me. As if on cue, a loud crash echoed from outside. The windows rattled, and the lights flickered as shadows moved through the trees. They're here, Sam said, grabbing his rifle. A fierce battle, the next moments were a blur of chaos. The cabin erupted with noise as the entities attacked, their glowing red eyes piercing through the darkness. Sam fired shot after shot, holding them back as I shielded Ellie, my heart pounding with terror. But they were relentless, their movements inhumanly fast and coordinated. For every one Sam took down, two more seemed to take its place. We can't hold them off, I shouted. Ellie stood, her glowing eyes blazing. I can stop them, she said, her voice steady. Ellie, no, I cried, grabbing her arm, but she pulled away, stepping into the center of the room. I know what I have to do, she said. Ellie's power unleashed. Ellie raised her hands, and the air around her seemed to ripple. A blinding light emanated from her body, forcing me to shield my eyes. The entities screamed, their forms disintegrating as the light engulfed them. The hum from the sphere returned, louder and more erratic, before it shattered in a burst of energy. When the light faded, the cabin was silent. The entities were gone, their presence erased as though they had never existed. Ellie collapsed to the floor, her body trembling. I rushed to her side, holding her as tears streamed down my face. It's over, I whispered. Ellie shook her head. No, Mom, it's just beginning. A shocking twist as Sam surveyed the damage. He noticed something glowing faintly on the floor, the remnants of the shattered sphere. Among the fragments was a small, intricate device, pulsing weakly. What is that? I asked. Sam picked it up carefully, his expression dark. It's not just a conduit, he said. It's a beacon. Ellie's face went pale. A beacon for what? Before Sam could answer, a low rumble echoed through the forest, growing louder by the second. The ground trembled beneath us, and a blinding light appeared on the horizon. They're coming, Ellie said, her voice trembling. All of them. Part 5. The final stand. The rumble grew louder, shaking the ground beneath the cabin as the blinding light approached. Sam's radio crackled to life, the static broken by a distorted voice. Unit 3 to command, we've got movement in Sector 7. Confirm hostiles advancing. Over. Sam's face hardened as he grabbed his rifle and peered out the window. They're here, he muttered. And they're not alone. Ellie stood beside him, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. We don't have much time. I grabbed her arm, my voice trembling. Ellie, what does that mean? What are we supposed to do? Ellie turned to me, her expression calm despite the chaos. We fight. We don't have a choice. A growing army outside, the forest came alive with movement. Shadows darted between the trees, glowing red eyes flickering in the darkness. The rumble grew deafening as figures emerged. Dozens, then hundreds, all moving in perfect unison. They've been waiting for this, Ellie said softly. They've been building their army. Sam pulled me aside, his voice urgent. Melissa, we need to get out of here. If they overrun the cabin, we won't stand a chance. Ellie shook her head. No. If we run, they'll follow us. We need to stop them here. Preparing for battle, Sam reluctantly nodded, springing into action. He handed me a pistol and showed me how to use it, his hand steady despite the rising tension. Only shoot if you have to, he said. Aim for the center of the chest. It slows them down. Ellie stood in the center of the room, her hands glowing faintly. I can hold them back, she said, but I'll need your help to keep them from getting inside. Sam looked at her, his expression unreadable. You sure you're ready for this, kid? Ellie met his gaze, her voice steady. I have to be. The battle begins. The first wave hit like a storm. The entities swarmed the cabin, their glowing eyes and inhuman speed making them terrifyingly efficient. Sam fired from the window, each shot precise, but there were too many. I stood at the door, trembling as I aimed the pistol. My first shot missed, but the second hit its mark, and the creature stumbled back before dissolving into ash. Ellie stood in the center of the room, her glow intensifying. A wave of energy radiated outward, throwing the entities back and buying us precious seconds. Keep going, she shouted, her voice echoing with power. A devastating loss despite Ellie's efforts. The entities kept coming. They smashed through the windows, their twisted forms relentless. Sam fought valiantly, but one of them managed to overpower him, slamming him into the wall. Sam! I screamed, firing at the creature as it lunged for him. Sam shoved it off and fired a final shot, but he was wounded. Blood seeped through his shirt as he collapsed against the wall. Stay focused, he said through gritted teeth. Don't let them get to Ellie. Ellie's transformation as the battle raged. Ellie's glow became blinding. She stood with her arms outstretched, her entire body vibrating with energy. The entities hesitated, their red eyes flickering as if in fear. This is my fight, Ellie said, her voice layered with a strange, otherworldly tone. I won't let you take them. She released a powerful burst of light, the shockwave disintegrating the entities closest to her. The others fell back, their movements uncoordinated as if their connection had been severed. But Ellie didn't stop. The light around her grew brighter, filling the room with an intense heat. Ellie, stop! I cried, shielding my eyes. You'll hurt yourself. I can do this, she said, her voice resolute. I have to. The revelation as the entities retreated. Ellie collapsed to her knees, her glow fading. I rushed to her side, tears streaming down my face. Ellie, are you okay? She nodded weakly. They're gone. For now. Sam limped toward us, clutching his side. That was incredible, kid, he said. But they'll be back. And next time they'll bring more. Ellie looked up at him, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. I know, she said softly. As we helped her to her feet, a thought struck me. Ellie, how did you know what to do? How did you get this power? Ellie hesitated, then said, I think I've always had it, but I don't think it's just mine. Sam frowned. What do you mean? Ellie glanced at the glowing fragments of the shattered beacon. When I connected to that device, I saw someone. I think they gave me this power to fight back. The true enemy. Sam's face darkened. They? Who are they? Ellie shook her head. I don't know, but they're different from the ones attacking us. They're watching too, waiting for me to do something. They're not our enemy, but they're not our ally either. The room fell silent as her words sank in. The final warning outside. The forest was eerily quiet, the light on the horizon fading. For now, the entities were gone, but their presence lingered like a shadow over us. We need to be ready, Ellie said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion in her eyes. This isn't over. Sam nodded, his jaw tight. We'll fight, whatever it takes. I pulled Ellie into a tight embrace, my heart heavy with both fear and pride. We'll protect you, I said, no matter what. But deep down, I knew the battle ahead would test us in ways we couldn't imagine, and Ellie's power would be the key to survival.